All right, so I wanted to talk about this Kyrie Irving quote for just a minute because this is again there's kind of like I don't know if rebellion's the right word, like a movement among NBA players on a couple of different fronts, kind of anti-media and kind of anti-fans. And as is always the case, like everything, the sentiment I 100% agree with. I actually really, really love what my colleague Draymond Green's been doing, talking about NBA media and their obsession with drama and the way that they aren't held accountable. I'm like 100% in agreement there. Like I thought Draymond Green said such a cool thing when he went on that podcast with Evan Turner and Andre Iguodala the other day. He's like, the game of basketball is beautiful. Like, let's talk about this beautiful game of basketball. And I 100% agree with him there. Well, one of the other movements that these players have been getting behind is this anti-fan movement. And this problem's been around forever. Fans have been heckling forever, and they heckle at every level of every sport of all time. I'll never forget playing in NAIA basketball and standing to throw an inbounds pass and having I played at a school in Utah. I was not Mormon, played at a school in Utah, and I had all the fans right behind my ear screaming like anti-Mormon jokes, like horrible things right into my ear. I had that happen to me dozens of times, various different capacities when I was playing in college. It happens at every level of the sport. Even the players say horrible things to each other at times. It's kind of just like the weird nature of competitiveness, right? And but at the same time, like, it doesn't make it right that people behave that way, but players are bothered by it. So before we go any further, I want to read the Kyrie quote. So after the game, and you guys saw it, it looked like in the video, it looked like some fans were heckling him from behind where he was inbounding, and it looked like he may or may not have flipped him off behind his head. At least I thought that might have been what happened. I'm not sure if anybody actually solidified that or not. But the quote from Kyrie, he says, quote, "When people start yelling pussy and bitch and fuck you, there's only so much you can take as a competitor. Nah, fuck that. That's the playoffs. It is what it is. I know what to expect in here, and I'm ready to give the same energy back to them." End quote. And I get that. I've just like anybody else who's ever dealt with heckling or anytime anybody, all of you, just in your day-to-day life, anytime you're ever in a setting where someone says something rude to you, whether it's like a weird dude in a retail setting who like is in customer service who treats you poorly, or you're at a bar and you're having a drink and some guy bumps into you and doesn't say I'm sorry or whatever it is, like, you're going to run into inconsiderate and people that are rude and mean and offensive all the time in your life. But you not doing that is what separates you from those people. Like, the reality is if we allow 20,000 people into an arena, we're probably going to get some scumbags in there. Like, there's going to be some trash human beings in there that don't have a filter, that are awful, that are, bigots, that are insensitive, that are whatever it is. You're going to get horrible human beings that are going to interact with you in every phase of life, but especially in a competitive environment on a basketball court. And my thing is, like, I'm not saying it's easy to deal with. I sympathize with the sentiment. But Kyrie, you not saying shit back to them, you not flipping them off, that's what separates you from them. And I understand we're in this, like, there's kind of like this new ideology that goes around where it's like we always have to support what everybody, like, wants to say or do. But it's like, at the same time, like, there's got to be a line somewhere. And like, to me, the line is like, if somebody's rude to me, I don't have to be rude back to them. I can be above that. And then guess what happens? Everyone's going to remember all the horrible things that the fan said to you, and they're going to have your back anyway after the fact. This makes you the story in a wrong way. And I just disagree with the approach. And like, I get it, like, as far, there's been this other kind of dynamic here where NBA players in particular want to make it seem like their job has all these massive downsides. Like, you get heckled, you have to deal with media criticism, the traveling is tough, you have to be away from your family for a long time. I get all of that, but every single job has pros and cons for various reasons. I worked in real estate for a half decade before this, and like, there was great things. I was my own boss. I got to set my own schedule. It freed me up to be able to do things like make a podcast and coach high school basketball and do all these things. It was great. But there were also downsides. Like, I would sometimes be at dinner with my wife and a phone call would come in that I absolutely had to take. because in real estate you're on 24/7. If the deal that you're working has some urgent need that you have to cater to, you've got to hop in and you've got to do something. And so, and again, like, there are some amazing perks for NBA players. One of the downsides is you have to play basketball in front of 20,000 people, and sometimes there's scumbags in those 20,000 people. They say horrible things to you, and you might have to turn the other cheek. You might have to look the other way. That's the reality of it. So my thing is, like, I sympathize with Kyrie, but, like, man, it's a bad look for you to stoop to their level. Show me, show us, show all of us why you're different, why you're better than the scumbag behind you who called you a bitch in the second row. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of a ideology that I don't understand. And it seems to be kind of like boiling over from NBA players right now. And I'd be really curious to hear from older players in previous generations, because I would imagine it might have been even worse back then. You know what I mean? So they've got to, this is the part of the deal, man. And you just gotta take it in stride. I think it doesn't make it easy. I understand. We've all been there where someone's saying something to you and you'd like to lash out physically, or you'd like to turn around and cuss them out, or you'd like, but what did you guys all do in those situations for the most part? We've all cracked before. I've cracked before, but what do you usually do? You usually go privately to yourself, you got to screw that guy. And then you just walk away, you know, that because you're better than him. That you're not the kind of person who behaves that way. And so you're above that fray and you separate yourself from it as much as you can.
How do you think the fact that this happened in Boston, where obviously Kyrie played and there was the whole kind of ugly breakup there, factors into all of this and his reaction?
Obviously it exacerbates the heckling. It obviously makes it harder, but, like, this is where it's like a bad breakup. Like, you lashing out in return makes it seem that you have unresolved feelings about it. You know, like, here's the reality of what happened with Kyrie in Boston. He made a promise that he was coming back. Literally got on the microphone and said he was going to sign in. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Carson, but I'm pretty sure he grabbed the microphone at one point in front of the entire stadium and was like, "I'm signing the extension this summer." like the dude made a promise. He didn't keep it. He made a commercial for Nike about his dad playing for the Celtics at one point, or trying out for the Celtics at one point, and how he wants his jersey to hang in the rafters. So, like, yeah, dude, you backed out of a commitment, which is fine. Like, I get it. And I don't blame him for leaving Boston. But, like, all you're doing by playing into this back and forth with the fans is making it seem like you have your own regrets about this whole situation. Like, play it cool, man. Like, play it cool.